everybody. Namaste to everybody, and welcome to this session on Manusmriti. I want to start off by just talking about the background and the backdrop in which we are having this discussion. Most people do not read Manusmriti in India and among the Hindus. When Sanjay Dikshitji, who hosts Jaipur Dialogues, did a straw poll among 1,000 people, he found that only 4 people had Manusmriti in their household. And most of them, almost 100% of them, had Hanuman Chalisa. 95% of them had the Gita and the Ramayana. And then the 4th most popular book was the Durga Saptashati. So what we are seeing here is a need to understand the Manusmriti only because of the dialogue that is being brought out by anti-Hindu forces. Let me also say that, Manusmriti is not the only thing that they throw at us. There is caste, Dalit, and Manusmriti. I think these are the 3 main things that we have been encountering in many of the discussions that are happening here these days. The good news is that Carnegie Endowment Survey that was conducted recently completely debunks this entire theory that caste exists in the United States, that caste discrimination exists here. And recently, the Pew Research also conducted a poll in India, and their survey shows that caste is not a big issue at all among Indians, among Hindus in India. So these are very big findings. We have moved on from the colonial imposition of caste. Caste is not a Hindu word. It was a Portuguese word that was, forced upon us and imposed upon us, on our society. Dalit was a word that was founded in the 1900s. And Manusmriti was translated and mistranslated into Gentoo laws and whatnot, and those, some of those 2 or 3 sutras or what they have translated, mistranslated, we don't know, is what they keep quoting. We don't read the text, and we are constantly on a back foot feeling defensive. I had a very strong Sanatani friend who told me, wait, we have a library of books, thousands of books, Upanishads, Vedas, and the Gita that can actually guide us. I don't want the Manusmriti. That's what he said. I'm ready to burn it if that's what they want to do. But I am discovering as I read it that Manusmriti is one of the most liberal texts. It resembles in many ways in the cosmogony with Rig Veda. It has much of the, philosophy and spirituality of the Gita, and it was a text that was a guiding principle for some of the, legal or dharmic, discourses during that time. But I just don't want to, go into that. Today we have a very, very wonderful guest, Aldrine Deepak ji. Namaste. I'm so delighted to welcome you today. We've just had the pleasure of knowing you for a short time, but you've just made such a lot of, impression on us, and I've learned so much from you. Aldrine ji is actually an IT director, but he's deeply interested in dharmic texts, and he's a deep student of Dharma. He also has a very interesting background, being from a Dalit community, and also having explored Christianity, explored being in Islam, and yet he felt that Sanatana Dharma is the place where he finds the most comfort, and he chose. Most of us get chosen by a religion, being born into it, but Aldrine ji had the sort of a good fortune to be able to explore a lot more diversity, and he basically settled into the Hindu Dharma. And Aldrine ji, you have a very, very interesting personal story as well. And I would like you to start with that before you take us into the depth of, what Manusmriti talks about in terms of women, in terms of marriage, and also homosexuality. This being the Pride Month, I think this is a perfect time to even discuss all of these, issues together. So, Aldrine ji, I hand over the floor to you. Welcome.
I'm going to start with a little prayer. Hi, everyone. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I'm so thankful to Richaji and Tiranga and all the people that are showing up here to just hear this person that who is nothing talk about such great subjects as Manusmriti and Vedas and our Upanishads. But my journey started in south of India, and I grew up in a place called Kolegal to a very strict maternal grandparents who were Christians, and they themselves had a very dramatic life of their own. They were brought from Gujarat and Rajasthan and were raised in a missionary school, and they were married to each other. And part of my grandparents' family also come from Karnataka. They were Lingaites, but they were also converted to Christianity. So I was raised until I was 14 years old as a Christian, and I was not allowed to talk to Hindus or have any kind of conversation about Hinduism. We were raised very strictly, and I used to go, as far as I can remember, like 6, 7 years old. I used to go in front of the temples and preach that you gods have eyes, yet they don't see. They have ears, yet they don't hear. And so you should convert to Christianity. But I was always amazed how tolerant, how compassionate, even including the priests of those temples that I used to preach in front of, that would say, "Wow, you have a lot of wisdom, but I don't think you understand the complexity of Hinduism." But they were never angry or had animosity towards me. So I was always wondering, like, how is that possible? At the same time, I was gaining curiosity of looking at the statues. I was very much drawn to them, and I didn't know what they mean, what they are. And eventually, when I was 10, 11 years old, that's when my mother moved to America. So that's when my father made the, courage had the courage to take me to my father's side of the family, and they were Dalits. So when I went to my father's side of the family, I was just so excited to go and ask my aunts all the questions about the gods and all the different stuff that is there. And they were farmers, not necessarily very educated. So when I went there, I was surprised. I walked into the house, and the first thing that I went was to look for the statues so I can ask them about what that is. And they were all gone. And I asked my aunt, "But where are all the murtis? I don't see any murtis." And my aunt said, "Well, I knew you were coming, and I know you were a very strong Christian, so I didn't want to offend you." So we put away the murtis. So that just touched me very much, and that made me realize how wonderful Hinduism is. That made me, and she was a wonderful teacher to me, and she taught me a lot of things, even though they were just Dalits and they did not have too much of the Shastra Jnana. They were very much like anywhere in India, like any people, they had a lot of knowledge about what organically what Sanatani is. And eventually, I ended up living with my dad's friend who was Brahmin, and she basically gave me the first Mahabharata in Kannada. So I read my first Mahabharata in Kannada, and so on. It began my journey, and then eventually I came to America when I was 18, and I just continued. And I started realizing I studied all my life in Kannada medium, so I did not know. So once I started reading the transliteration of Sanskrit, and then I started reading, and I go, I understand like 60, 70% of this because a lot of Kannada is in Sanskrit words. So that's how I got interested, and I started reading more and more, and I got so much more interested to understand what Sanatana Dharma is, and it just made me so much more be inclined to go towards it. And my spiritual journey has taken me so many different places. And today I'm here talking about Manusmriti of all things, because that just made me like the whole reason that I got involved and I wanted to talk about these things, because I've been studying about this for so long, is what happened with the Cisco case in California. And I read what they wrote about Dalits, and then they were like talking about how Dalits are this, and they're dark skinned, and like there's like it's almost like we don't exist, so they have to make up this story to tell who we are. So that's why I wanted to come out. And when I come out, there were a little bit of a resistance from people about Manusmriti because I think they didn't know. So I started like encouraging people, stop saying things that you don't understand. You need to start studying. So that's how we ended up being in this place and talking about Manusmriti today.
That's so good you shared that. Suddenly we are all talking about what caste we are, which we have never ever spoken to each other about.
Right.
So, but now, of course, because of that, we are discovering, because of the kind of discourse that is coming at us, thrown at us by Hindu phobic forces that we are talking about this. So thank you so much for sharing your personal story, Aldrine ji. And I think it is time to dive straight into your slides, and please take us into what you have researched on the Manusmriti regarding our topic du jour.
Okay, I do want to go to Manusmriti, but before I go there, I want to bring our parampara from the beginning, right? So we know Shrutis and Smriti. Sorry.
Aldrine ji, can I just tell you one thing, that your voice is echoing a bit. I don't know if there's something that you can do to alter that.
My voice is echoing?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. If there's nothing you can change, that's fine. But I don't know how others are feeling about it. I'm muting myself so that if that's causing the echo.
Is there anybody that is not muted?
No one else is hearing it, so it's probably just me. Okay, go on then.
Sorry. So before we go, I want to go through the parampara of our Shrutis. And it's very important to understand the Shruti and Smriti. Smriti is something that is Kala Desha Patra, right? So time, space, and the play that the part that we're playing. So we can always adjust and even eliminate if we don't want it and not be part to take part in that. So Manusmriti comes into the Smriti part. Nonetheless, our ancestors, our rishis, our sons, sadhus and santas have given such a platform. We never have to deny anything. We can go on.
Aldrine, another feedback. There is some echo, a little bit of echo, but that's okay. I think you need to put this in that presentation mode, your slides.
Oh, okay. Got it. Is that better? Is that good?
Looks good. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the reason. So this is because of that we can still take Manusmriti and still be proud of it and not worry about what other people saying. So we go back to Sadashiva and Parvati itself. Like this shloka says from Mahakavi Kalidasa. You know Kalidasa, he was a kind of a gaon ki village ki idiot. They became Mahapurush, and they basically wrote Raghuvamsha, which is beautiful poetry. And in that it says, Vagartha viva sampratyam, Vagartha pratipatyaye, Jagatapitara Vande Parvati Parameshwaram. So as the Mother Parvati is the speech, and Pita Shiva is the meaning of that speech that is intertwined in one another, that we call them mother and father. This society and in the places in academic or any place that men were, women were also part of it. So it was never seen as one is better than the other, or one is somehow has to be in the front and the other one has to be in the back. So this is the most important part that I wanted to take. To the next, we can see in our saints and sadhus, we were just talking about Richa ji, that we talked about Laleshwari ji, who was a Digambar. from the north, Kashmir, and we have Akka Mahadevi, who is a Digambar from the south. They walked from one place to another. Being a Digambar means they were almost naked. The only thing that was covered in for at least Akka Mahadevi was just her hair. And they were going and preaching about the Sanatana Dharma. Nobody stopped them. Nobody made fun of them. Nobody thought that they were something is wrong with them. They were honored. Today, you go to Bidar, they have a huge place where Akka Mahadevi is wonderfully made a statue of, and we still go and honor her. So this is the part where we come from. So when we look at the way that people talk about how women are in Sanatana Dharma, and when women talk about women in other traditions, we can proudly say from day one until today, we have no difference of man, woman. You can do that, you cannot do that. We have been from, like I said, from the Shastrartha to Shastrartha, women have been part of Indian Sanatan history. So that we can be very proud of. From Rigveda period onward, we have Apala, Kadru, Vishwavara, Ghosha. I mean, I can go on. Yamini, Indrani, Gargi, Maitreya. These are all women who contributed to our Vedas, right? From Rigveda and Samaveda. And we have like people like Laleshwari, Akka Mahadevi, who have contributed for our refining of what we know as Shastra, right? So already given that things, that I don't think we have to try to explain to people what our Shastras say. But the problem here is our own people. And this is an exact example of where we are today. It says, it's from Chanakya Niti. It says, Yasyam nasti swayam prajnam shastram tasyam karoti kim lochanabhyam vihinasya darpanam kim karishyati. It basically says, when somebody has no self-prajna, right? What is the point of all these shastras that we kept it? Not with the problem with us is we don't have. It's not that we don't have shastra, but we're not aware of shastra. We are so ignorant of ourselves, who we are, where we come from, what is our parampara, what is our tradition. And then it says lochanabhyam vihinasya. It's like having all those shastras, even if you have it. It's like a man who is blind has a glasses to see. This is the problem that we are facing today. It's not that our shastras are the problem. It is the shastrajna who is the problem, right? People who are looking at the Shastra in a certain way because they don't understand, or people who don't even look at it because somebody wrote 300 years ago how bad Manusmriti is. Today they're propagating that lie. And this is where we are today. And this is the place that we will start with. So at least we ourselves can be a little bit more knowledgeable about what Manusmriti is all about, and what it says about women, what it says about gays and lesbians, what it says about, I don't go through adoption today, but there is, what it says about marriage and divorce of women, all of this stuff we will just briefly touch today.
Thank you, Aldrine. I do want to talk a little bit, but meanwhile, is it possible for you to move to headphones just so that, some of that echo can...
This is causing the problem, okay.
Yes, there is some echo, and because you're the main speaker and, we would love to hear you. I've heard you before, and I know your voice can be a little much, clearer. There's some echo coming in. So meanwhile, we'll just talk about what I have been reading. I have been just starting to explore Manusmriti, and unlike the Bible, which says the woman came from the rib of Adam, Eve came from the rib of Adam, woman has been given a very equal position right from the beginning of Genesis, in Manusmriti. So it says that Brahma, the Brahman, the concept of Brahman, the egg of Brahma, is core to our, creationism. And basically what it says is that Brahma split into two, the egg, and equal parts are created, and one was male, one was female. So that concept of equal and equality exists very strongly in our culture from the get-go, from the genesis of our of our creation, and that is visible through everything that we see, whether it's Ardhanarishwar, whether we see any text that we see. There is an equality there. So I think, Aldrine, if you've moved to headphones, we can have you talk on women and
Is it
Manusmriti.
better now? I just moved to headphone. Is it better now?
I think it's a little bit better. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think moving on to Manusmriti now. Like Richaji, you were saying, it's not only a woman was made out of a rib of a man. Adam's rib was taken out and Eve was created. You go to systematically in Bible, you hear stories about how women being lower than a man, right? And like when you see a story about the Sodom and Gomorrah, I don't know how many people who know that story. That's the story that they use to demonize the gays and lesbians in Bible. So basically what happens, these two angels come to the city of Sodom, Sodom and Gomorrah, and the people of that town, and they're men, of course, angels, and people of town say that we want to have sex with these men, right? So Lot basically says, well, no, because they're our guests, you can have my daughters instead of these men. Like, it doesn't even, we can't even conceive that a man would offer his daughter to have sex, go take and rape this woman so that I can protect these two men. So this, and then Lot, then basically whatever happens, and then God destroys Sodom and Gomorrah, and they're told to run from there. And then they tell Lot's wife not to turn back and look, but obviously she turns because, she's weak, because she's a woman. She's weak. So she turned back and looked, and then they make her the salt statue right there. And then she basically said, Lot goes on, and with his two daughters, now everybody is dead, nobody is there. And what are they going to do? Again, a woman who is so weak and nasty, they decide that they're going to get drunk and get their father drunk and fool him into having sex with them and have children. And that's the story, just one story from Bible, I'm telling you. This is the story that they were writing when Manusmriti was written. So let me just put that in context. This is what you are seeing how women are in those books, right? And we will see like what is the context of us in Manusmriti. Manusmriti was conservatively written 2,200 years ago, but I think it's a little bit more older than that. But it doesn't matter the time. But even to 2,000 years ago, when 1700 in England, the only way a man can divorce his wife is go and sell her on the street. It's in 1700, it was happening in Britain. But this was written 1,300 years before, according to the dating. This was written. It says, Yatya naryastu pujyante ramante tatra devataha. Wherever the women are worshipped, adored, that's where the gods are pleased and then they live there, right? That's what it is saying. So, yatra tastuna pujyante sarvasya trafala kriya. When they are not worshipped, then none of the rites that you perform will be successful. That is the shloka from Manusmriti, right? This is not one-off. There are hundreds of them. I just took 15, 20 of them, and I just wanted to talk about this. So,
thank you so much, Aldrine. I also have 10 or 12 such shlokas. Your voice, people are saying that it's sounding worse with the headphones. I'm sorry to disturb you.
I'm not sure what was the problem. So let me just do this. I have a camera that I set up, but I'm going to move back to my computer camera, see if that makes any difference.
Yeah, please try something because, we want to make sure we catch every word. Someone saying, come closer to microphone. But I think the echo is an issue.
I think it's because of the...
Yes, better, much better.
Is it better now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then it must be the... Yeah, because I'm too far from the... Now it is okay, right?
Yeah, exactly. Much better.
Okay, perfect. So I am going to leave it like that then. Then that was the problem. So we're good here then. Are we still good?
I think I can hear you better now. Very
Okay.
much.
Is it better? Is it better for everybody?
Yes, better.
Okay. So so there are many of them. So did you have something to say before we go on to the second one?
No, I think why don't you carry on? Because I do have many such sayings, and maybe I will post them to people like on the overseas, on the chats. I'll post it on the chats. Meanwhile, why don't you carry on?
Yeah, so I took some of them to show that there are different reasons that these are all mentioned. So I wanted to show you it's not because they think the stree is a woman is weak, or there is a place for everything. For example, in this shloka it says you need to make way for people who are old, who's carrying weight, who is a woman, and who is also learned one, and a king. So this shows there was a respect, not because she's a weak person. When you add these people as the Raja and the Sanakasya, these are all scholars, king, a woman, a person who carried weight, right? You see there is a compassion, there is respect, right? So that's the thing that we have to see Manusmriti not just in the view of what these people are looking. You read this one. Today, you guys get up when you see a woman who is coming there to sit down and you give them a place. This was given to you, this is in your blood 2000 years ago. That's why you do that. Not because some Gora came to India and say, oh, you have to learn etiquette and all of this. This existed in us. This is who we were. And this is what we've been continuing even today, even in India. Like you go, you see a woman, you get up so that you can give a place. Sometimes you don't want to, but you still get up and give a place, right? Because that's a part of your tradition. You have to do it. And that's the way it works. So um, again, so this is another one because we say Atiti with Devabhava, right? When somebody comes, make sure that you offer food to guests before you eat yourself. It says Suvasinihi Kumarishcha Rogino Garbinastriya, right? If there is a woman, a married woman, right? Like a newly married woman, because it's respect, right? Like there's a new person coming into your house, a Kumari, a young person who is young, very young, Rogini, if somebody is like ill or Garbini, or if they're pregnant, you ought to feed them even if they're in their own house. You feed them first before you feed the atitis, the guests. That's again, you can see it's not just about one thing, it's about having an etiquette. You have an etiquette, you have certain kind of achara that you have to promote in your house. This all shows that you have not only respect but compassion. That's why you do that. It's not because you think that somebody is higher, lower, weaker, bigger, whatever. There's a reason all of this is given, right? And we go to the next one. It says, and this is good. And it's not like a woman is there just to please her husband. And he says, Santushto bharyaya bharta, bharto bharya tathaivacha. It says, it's a duty for a wife to satisfy and make her husband happy, and so is the duty of the husband to make her happy. So it doesn't say you have to seva karni hai tumhare, you have to do seva to your husband, and that's when you get swarga. There is no place there that it's saying, and that's what you hear when you see Manusmriti, right? People keep saying that, oh yeah, it's all about women doing this and that, and it's about the Dalits doing this. And no, that doesn't say that here. It says you have to uh, make sure that both husband and wife are both happy. If you do that, then your kula is going to be happy, your entire family, right? When we say kula in our families, because it used to be joint families, so its entire khandan would be happy, right? Yasmin neva kule nityam kalyanam tataiva dhruvam. That's the only way that the entire family can be happy is when husband and wife are happy with each other and make each other happy. So this is another one. So And this is another part where it says, yes, Striyam to rochamanayam. So Stri has to be happy and radiant. When that kind of a person uh, um, exists in the house, Sarva Drocha Tekulam. All the people in the entire family will be happy, right? The one family that does not have that one will be unhappy. Why? Because everybody runs to maternal matriarchy of the house, right? Whenever they need that, because you go there because that's where you find happiness, and that's the important reason that we do, right? And then this is another one where it says how to treat another person who is in the weaker set, who is also a woman, where it says that if you're a relative, you make a relative who live with you sad, you will get back the grief in your family and you will not prosper, right? And this is an example. I think Indian government, I think in the 70s, gave women 30% of the land. I remember 70s or 80s, I don't remember. Look what it says, Tataivatmana putraha putrena duhita samaha. As you have a son, you have a daughter, you should see them as both as the same. If you don't have the son, your daughter is your son. Tasyamatma nishtantyakam samanyodhanam haret. So if you have a daughter, and if she is the one that should get all the property, why would you look for somebody else? Because that's some people do, right? Like it's better to have a son or a daughter, but here it says the daughter is as good as the son, and the daughter should get all the property. You see, this was done 2,300 years ago, and our government gave 33% of the land, the property to the daughters today. Even in India, I think it is still the same thing. I think it's still the same thing. So next one is and this is another example of it. It says that when the mother has a property. So that means women used to have property. It's not like they were walking around and following the husband. Mothers used to have property. If the mothers shared if the property of the mother is the share of the unmarried daughter alone, and the sons or daughters shall take it if one she, right? If the grandmother passes away, the maternal grandchildren will get it. It doesn't say sons only, daughters and sons will get the property, right? So it's equal. There is no inequality here. There is no separation of girls or boys here. I mean, you can find hundreds of these, and some of them out of context because it goes on about mostly about the property. But I also took it because I wanted to show, even in ancient India, things were equal. It was not, and then they say, here it says, when the mother passes away, the brothers and sisters should share the property equally. Equal shares, right? Even today, I don't think that exists in India, right? It doesn't happen like that anymore. So those are about women that I just gathered together. And I wanted to talk about what did they think about the marriage. I focus only on women today, but you can see there are things that talk about men and women as well. But today, because the assault is coming our way only because it's women or Dalits or so on, I just took this one. This is the one that I really liked. It says, if the woman is still a virgin and wants to return to her husband, assuming she was married, but somehow she divorced because whatever happens, she can get married to a new person, or she can go back to the husband if they did reconciliation. That means there was a certain system set up where people can either reconcile or get divorced. And they can move on with their life with either or of the husband that she's going to move with. This gives a tremendous adhikara to women to say, I don't want to go back to him, or I want to go back to him. Who are you to tell me I cannot go back? We made up and we talked about it. You see, this is the epitome of a civilized society. That's what we call today. suddenly, oh, I can divorce, I can do this, that's my prerogative. This happened in 2300 years ago. Manu, who is supposed to be such a narrow-minded person, is saying this. This is what you should do if you're a woman you want to divorce, right? So, and this says after you divorce, it's always better to wait 3 years, right? And then you can go and look for your own husband. That means it's saying you either give 3 years for your parents to look for a husband. If they can't, you're ready to go on your own. Go ahead, go look for a husband, marry whoever you want. That's what it's saying here. Now, what other book you show me until 1900s that shows this one? 1921, in America, women were not allowed to vote. They were not allowed to vote. This was written 2,300 years ago. Remember that. 2,300 years ago, this guy is saying, wait 3 years. After that, you marry whoever you want. If you, by then your parents did not get you married. That doesn't say that, but I'm just inserting that. I'm thinking that's what they meant. So yeah, maybe a year for you to go through all the things that you went through, maybe shoka, dukkha, all of that, and then maybe your parents will start doing that. And if some reason it didn't work out, go. It's your choice. Go choose your own husband, right? And then this one is a divorced woman should rather stay in father's house until death instead of marrying a man with gunahinaya karhachit, right? If a man is gunahina, who is a bad character, do not marry. Just stay with your father's house. Nobody's kicking her out, right? Nobody's saying you better get married and get the hell out of my house. You don't belong here. No, she can stay. If she can find another man 3 years later, 10 years later, she can marry and she can move on. So there is no like, oh my God, this girl is sitting in my house. You don't see that. It's only in Bollywood stories. It's not in Manu. Manu does not say that. And here it's the same way, like, and this is again one more about the how we have responsibility to take care of somebody who is downtrodden and weak in our society. That's a beautiful saying. It is like if your woman is barren, who doesn't have sons or who doesn't have family, or widows or people who work for you who are in that situation, it's your responsibility to take care of, right? I mean, here it says, I mean, it's the same thing about like a property. It's one more time, it's the property thing. See, if you see this one, this is not only what the society is asking, he's telling even the Prithvipati, the Raja, the king, has an obligation to enforce these things. He says that if somebody take property away from a woman, then the king has to punish them. So this is a law. This is a law that was put into place by Manu by saying this is what we have to follow. And then this is a very good one. No more gigolo for Manusmriti. He says that any man who enjoys the property of a woman is committed a sin and will suffer tremendously. So that is important as well, which means there is a place where a woman has property that a man is somehow is going to go and enjoy it and take advantage of. I mean, so far I think we covered pretty good, and it's again like the others. Oh, and this is the one thing that I wanted to bring up too, because all the time that's what they talk about. Oh, women cannot do certain things. Women cannot do rituals, and then women are only born for the to give birth to the children. It says prajanatha striyam, right? Srishtaya satanarthaja manavaha. It's also yes, woman is there to give birth to motherhood, but also the man is there for fatherhood. So it's not like there's one responsibility, the other one is not exist. They both have to carry this responsibility, and that's how. Because of that, they both have to commit together and offer the rituals and dharmic traditions together, not separate or not. One is not important. Both of them are supposed to do it together. And this is what Manusmriti says. There are hundreds more. There is. If you don't, I mean, I read and I slowly understand the shlokas, but it takes me some time to read it and understand and then put it together. But if you don't have time, I mean, if you speak Hindi, you know more Sanskrit than I do. So if you make a little bit of effort, you can definitely understand a lot of things here. But if you don't, please read Manusmriti in English. It is a tremendous, tremendous book, and you will be blessed by reading that. And you will be able to stand up and not be afraid to speak to anybody, especially our people, Indians, who come and say Manusmriti is a horrible book. Ask them, what have you read it? Can you quote one shloka from there? If they can, show them these things. These are very important things to show and educate our people. Because today, even though we sit here and we're talking about these people coming up with these assaults, the war is fought with our own people, denying what is fact. So that's why this is very important for us to make sure that we do not give up and say, oh, Manusmriti, I don't want to talk about it. There is nothing to be afraid of. There is nothing to be ashamed of in our Shastras. Our Shastras have always been only for the uplifting of human beings, nothing else.
Wonderful. That was beautifully said, and actually, frankly, Manusmriti, if anything, caste we have been able to counter. Dalit also, we have sort of almost, it has become an accepted term now. And we are constantly working towards, upliftment of society with the affirmative action and reservation systems in India, whatnot. But Manusmriti has always been that scary chapter, which, in fact, personally, I have never explored till recently. And I think most of us have been very curious about it. So it's great. People are asking whether, okay, unmute is enabled for participants now. So if you want to ask questions, please raise your hand. Whenever we are done with the presentation, we will make sure that, we'll give you a chance to ask your question. Also post your questions on chat box. I think there were a couple of questions, but we will take it later. I think, do you want to move on to marriage, or is there still more on women?
So this is basically what I did for women and marriage, right? And I do wanted to touch a little bit about what is Tritiya Prakriti that we call about, like what they talk about, how they use Manusmriti for saying that it condemns homosexuality. I myself a gay man. I've lived with my partner for over 30 years, and I never felt that I was somehow removed from my dharma or my culture because I was gay. And we can talk about starting from Mohini and Mahadeva to Ayyappa to Yallamma to all the beautiful characters that are in our tradition that does definitely not ever say anything bad about homosexuality. So I want to bring up just one shloka from Manusmriti. It's Manusmriti Adhyaya 11, 175th shloka. It says, Maidanam tu samasevya pumsi yoshiti vijaha govanepsu divachaiva savasaha snanamachara, which means Maidanam. So if you have had sex with a man or a woman, right, in a bullock cart, whatever you're doing, right, in any kind of sex you had with a man or a woman in a bullock cart, which means you're doing it wherever you're doing it, what is the punishment that you will get? He says, snana machare, which means go and take shower. That is the punishment Manuji is giving. There's 100 more that I did not pick. I just took this one because this is more about being like cleanly. It's more about the cleanliness and your achara. Because at some point, every human has to question themselves about their dharma, their achara, right? Because it's not about this Puritan view of Abrahamic religions. We don't have that one. There is a man who was killed by God himself because he wasted his semen. You know what that means. He got killed. In the Bible, there is a story about him in Bible, but that was never a part of our life because we we do respect nature as it is. And every man, that's why we are called Dvijas. How we can become the Dvija? Dvija we become by educating ourselves, removing the ignorance again one more time. We are born once to the new world, to the Prakriti, but we become Dvija by understanding the Dharma, by understanding what is my role and what I can and I shouldn't do, what is the way that life should be. These are the things that when we understand, we become Dvija. That's why it says Dvija there. That's basically what a Dvija means. A Dvija means somebody who has evolved into a next level of a human being, not just like you're born, so I'm just going to be who I am. And it also says about being the Tritiya Prakriti, what we call, it says, Kumaro Pumsadike Shutre, Stri Bhavatyadike Striya. So it says.
Aldrine, the slides are not moving. I'm still.
This is the one that I just took it from outside because I didn't add that one here because I didn't do LGBT on this one because I did the other one, remember, the LGBT one. But if you want, I can put that one there.
No, that's okay. I just thought you forgot to.
No, that's basically where we are right with this one. So with this, basically, I finished this slides what I was using. This was just only for the women and Manusmriti. And this one, it says, and this, like, remember, this is 2,300 years ago before XX, XY chromosome and all that came later. This is 2,300 years ago, Manusmriti. Manu is saying, when a male seed predominates, a male is born. When a female seed predominates, a female is born. But when there are both of the equal or there are some more or less, then the Tritiya Prakriti is born. The third nature is born. So there is a nature of Shiva, Shakti, and the third nature, which is Tritiya Prakriti. It never denied. Never in the entire history of our Shastras, never denied that people like me existed and people like me had a place. And if you take on the story of Shikhandi in Mahabharata, Shikhandi was raised as a man. She was a woman, right? She was born as a girl and she was raised as a man. And in Mahabharata, there is one chapter where they discuss about why she's a woman, why she's a man. How do you say who is a man, who is a woman? And Bhishma protests saying that, oh, I cannot fight with a woman. And then there is a whole discussion about how do you see as a man or a woman, right? This is our parampara. And that's why I say that we need to go back to parampara from Shiva. Anything that you want to talk about today, anything, you can go back to the beginning. And from the beginning, our rishis have been so open, and our rishis have been so enormous in their thought process. So, Udara Charitanam, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, they never denied anybody. It's like denying something is denying Brahma itself. How can you deny Brahman? Right? I'm a Brahman, I'm a part of Brahma. How can you deny me? You will not be able to deny. Anybody who understands this Shastrartha, will never be able to deny anybody. Because that's a part of our life, right? Remember, Ravana was so bad that Rama killed Ravana for what he did. But after that, for 1 year, he went to do the penance because he said that Ravana had so many good qualities. I feel bad that I took that away from the world. So I'm going to go do the penance for a year for him. And remember when the Pandavas, when the after the Mahabharata, when the Pandavas, when Krishna takes Pandavas to Swarga, and they see the Kauravas sitting there, and Pandava says, "Why are they here?" And Krishna laughs and says, "I mean, let it go. Let it go. I mean, you cannot live with this Krodha, Matsarya, Mada. These things are not good for you." And this is what our tradition teaches, not to hate, not to separate, not to divide. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are all one family, and we need to be that way. It doesn't say, these people are my family. We don't pray, Lord Jesus, help only the Christians. We say, Loko samasta sukhino bhavantu.
the whole entire world. And in the Shamno Astu Dvipade, Cham Chatushvade. May the two-legged one and the four-legged one be happy and content. That's what our Shastra teaches. And that's important.
That's wonderful, wonderful, and very, very enlightening for all of us, I think. I think there are tons of questions coming up. I think one of the questions is about just the fact that, transgenders and, they were considered sort of almost divine beings in some, is there some text that you know of where they have spoken explicit Shastric reference regarding the transgenders or hijras being, being bearers of luck and fertility? Have you heard of that?
No, so see, okay, so when you look at Shastra, so ultimately, when you go back to 3,000 years ago, right? Like you look at it, the Durva, the grass that we take. This is the beauty of our Samskriti. Like in Kannada, there is a poem about Durva grass. Durva grass, this woman who get married, who leaves, and then we sing this song in the wedding in Kannada, and she said, ಹಾಲುಂಡ ತವರಿಗೆ ಏನೆಂದು ಹಾಡಲಿ ಹೊಳೆದಂಡೆಲಿರುವ ಗರಕಿಯ ಕುಡಿಯಾಗ ಹಬ್ಬಾದಿ ಅವರ ರಸಬಳ್ಳಿ. So Durva represents the propagation and the abundance, just like Akshata is propagation and abundance. During those days, they were concerned about being abundance, right? Being go and prosper, and the everything represented to go to the next level. You Putra Pautri is very important, right? So that's why I showed you the one of the thing that if a woman is a barren, she should be looked after because she's not going to have any family. So it becomes the responsibility of the family to take care of. Now, as far as the transgenders are concerned, like I said, like Shikhandi is kind of like a transgender, right? It doesn't matter. She herself accepted herself to be a man. She goes to Yaksha and she gets a reproductive organ from Yaksha. She gets a penis to become a man. What is that? You call that today sex operation, right? But Yaksha gives her so that she can perform the duty that she's because she get married. But she always thinks herself as he. See, when we have to look at the Shastras, you have to go back, like I said, go back to the Parampara. Parampara, the Brahma itself is na Stri na Purusha na Pum. That's what it says, right? This body that this is who we know Panchakoshas, right? Right? And then so it's much deeper than that. So these are like just a story that's why Ramayana and Mahabharata and the Itihasas and Smritis, we can talk about it because this is Vyavaharika. When you move away from Vyavaharika to Paramarthika, that, I mean, I don't see you as, a woman sitting and talking to me, right? You see his Atma as an Atma, right? This Paramarthika is Laukika, then we need these stories from Mahabharata, Ramayana, which is good, we have it. Nobody else has it. Trust me, no other tradition has this. We have it. I can go and say that today there is Yallamma worship in Karnataka. She's been worshipped for 800 years, right? And there is Buddha and Chandra gets cursed so that your children will always be born intersex. They will not have male or female, they will be intersex. That's the curse that they get. Bhagirath story, you know about it. So there are so many stories in our Smritis, right? So that's the whole point about it, because Smriti deals with today. And that's why Rama comes here and becomes Ramayana with its Itihasa, teaching us how to live here. But then again, we want to move out, we go to Vedanta and we say, well, let's see the Paramartha. What are the Stula, Shukshma, and Karana Sharira? What is the meaning of it? So this is a deeper part of it, but in Smriti, you can always find stuff like that, right? Today in Tamil Nadu, all the transsexual run because they want to get married to Araivan. Now, Araivan is son of Arjuna, who was born on a Ulupi. And when he was sent to fight in Mahabharata, then he goes to Krishna and he says, I am a bachelor. I would like to experience being a married man. So Krishna turns himself into a woman. And that's the story of Araivan. And that's why the transgender run to Araivan to get married, because they want to experience Krishna himself. Arjuna goes to Krishna and says, I would like to know, you know how when we grow up and we meet somebody so interesting that we say, I would have loved to see what you were like a young child and how you grew up and all of your experiences. Arjuna says the same thing about Krishna. He says, Krishna, I would love to see how you were with the Gopikas. And then Krishna allows him to become a Gopika, and he goes and he spends time in Vrindavan, and then he understands how Krishna's life was with other Gopikas, and he comes back and he was enlightened by that experience. So these things exist in our Shastras. The Shastras is not necessarily to give you an anecdote for things that you can today, like I'm saying. Like, we did not give women property until 1970s. In the Constitution that we hold up every day and say, Constitution of America. Like, I've been gay since I'm young. You know, I was 7 years old and I went to my grandmother and I told her that, you know, I went to a wedding, and then I came back home and my grandma asked me, how was the wedding? And I said, it was wonderful. And I said, but in my wedding, I don't see a woman next to me, but a man next to me. My grandma smiled and said, well, when you're old enough, you want to marry a man, then you marry a man. There's no problem. What's the problem? So I didn't experience that. There are people experience like that, yes. But you have to see, our people have gone through trauma of 1,000 years of somebody else telling you what your religion is, what your dharma is. I was so happy when I could go live the other religions, and when I saw dharma and I realized, oh my God, I have a story that I can tell that will not send me to hell. That will say, okay, you're a part of us too. You can be a part of us too. We won't deny you. That's like I said, like you cannot, don't deny me, don't deny Brahman. If you deny me, you are denying Brahman, because I am, after all, the creature of Brahman. Like, if I say Shivoham, you say Shivoham, what is the difference there? What is ultimately, isn't that
wonderful. You know, it's almost 8 o'clock. I want to make sure people get to ask their questions. There have been a lot of questions coming on the chat also. Okay. And Krishna Susalasi has raised his hand, and I want to give him an opportunity to speak. Thank you, Krishna ji. Please.
Namaste. Thank you very much for the talk. It's very informative. I've not myself read Manusmriti, though I do have it in my library. I've actually been reading a lot of other texts. I'm like you in that I've been doing a lot of reading throughout my life and noticing that a lot of stereotypes and a lot of accusations are just plain inaccurate or just frankly wrong. So I guess I have a couple of questions. Feel free to cut me off if I'm spending too much time. Well, I guess one point first. I think regarding the Dharma Shastras, you know, there's so many prescriptions and prohibitions, but I think that one thing people kind of miss is that there's an underlying cultural and philosophical assumption that you alluded to, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It comes from the fact that we are not these bodies. We are all jivatmas, and as jivatmas, we can reincarnate into any body. So the you know, into any status of life. So obviously, the logic that we are trained to treat people badly because of their birth, that's not very logical when you consider the point that you could yourself have that birth in your next life. And it just seems to me that much of the Hindu-phobic criticism seems to miss that very basic point. Anyway, getting to my actual question, whenever Dharma Shastras have come up in conversation, and Manu Dharma Shastra in particular, it's come to my understanding that there's actually multiple recensions of this text. And obviously they can't all be the original composition of Manu. And I myself have seen this where somebody will bring up some usually very spicy verse about caste or misogyny or whatever. And then of course, as I'm apt to do, I'll go and track it down, and surprise, surprise, it's not there. And not only is it not there, but the entire chapter in which it was alleged to be found has nothing to do with that subject. Yeah. So I am curious to know, and you know, I have kind of by default assumed that the recension that's commented on by Medhatiti might be probably closer to the most authoritative one, although I don't really know that that's the case. But I know that he wrote a commentary on it, and there's an online version of it in which you can see the edition that he commented on with his commentary. And so typically, if you take that as a gold standard, I find that a lot of these spicy verses are not found there. So my question to you, well, my first question anyway is, do you, in any of your readings, have you really come across any sort of research or indications that, you know, there is a recension that's more authoritative than the others? Is it a reasonable assumption to take that Medhatiti's recension is probably the most authoritative? That's my first question. My second question is a little bit more off topic, but I guess kind of relevant. You know, I myself, I've never had any, I have a lot of Hindu friends who come from different Jati Varnas, and but I've never had one that specifically identified him as a Dalit. And so my question to you, and I'm asking it out of ignorance because I really don't know, where do Dalits actually fall within the fourfold Varnashrama system that's mentioned in the Vedas and in the Puranas? Are they considered, you know, a community within the Shudras, or are they a community from like one of the other Varnas, or are they considered outsiders that sort of incompletely assimilated into the Varna society? I actually honestly don't know this, and I'm curious to know, is there an opinion about this among Dalits? Is there an opinion about this among scholars of Hinduism? Is there an opinion about this among Hindu scholars? I really and honestly truly don't know, and I would be very interested to hear your opinion on that point.
Thank you, Ji, Krishna Ji. I mean, as far as the Manusmriti is concerned, you said it all. You don't need me to explain anything to you. You're right, and that's why. I mean, I only took 10 of this, right? If any of these, I mean, I think I have like 18 of these. If any of these 18 you compare to whatever that they talk about, if it doesn't match, it's more likely they're lying, right? Why would they say Yatra Sri Ramyate, right? Pujate? Why would he say that and then go back and say, oh, Sri is this, Sri is that? Why would you do that? You wouldn't do that. You have to be really like a bipolar person who didn't take your medicine and suddenly you started going crazy, right? It makes no sense to me. And that's why, I mean, for me, it's not even a question of, see, the thing that I tell my dharmic people is that for us, Shabda Pramana is not that important, right? It's Pratyaksha Pramana that is important. That means you have to individually live this life and understand, and then you can say something. Laleshwari ji said that at the end, even the Vedas disappear. I am Shivoham, Shivoham, right? So that's where our journeys goes. We don't go to look for like a one-way ticket to heaven. We're looking to constantly work on ourselves so that we go through this journey to become better and evolve people. So that's number one. Number two, you can't. The reason that you asked that Dalit question, it is really funny for me because I lived 52 years, not once any Hindu ever asked me what caste you are. And I voluntarily came out as a Dalit because of Kona dialogue that we were having. And then they were like, we don't know what to do. They keep on attacking us. We don't have anybody. And I'm like, I raised my hand and go, I am Dalit. I can talk for myself. You don't have to talk for me. I am here. I can tell you. And you know, the only people who called me Holiya, which is a Kannada word for Achut, was Christian of part of my family. Never once, even in the village that we lived, that we knew that we were Holiya, that my father's family lived as Dalits, never once a Brahmin, my cousin actually married to a Brahmin. So never once they were coming and saying anything, you know. So this is a very, and I think the problem with the Hindu society is they think they're holier than thou. They don't understand that they need to understand each other, talk to each other, and not be afraid. And that's why I said, I'm going to from now on introduce myself as Dalit. So I want these people to know. I know you don't want to know, but we don't have a choice now. We really don't have a choice. They are going to narrate us who we are. I mean, you know, that's what I got very angry when I was talking to my husband. And I was saying, you know, like I've met, forget about the Indians. I met so many Americans, Western people that go to India and they come and talk about caste system to me, and I'm sitting right in front of them. You're talking about me, but you don't even know who it is. This is the problem. The problem is that it's not about it exists or not exists. It doesn't exist in our society, not that way. I have seen there are many places that people take advantage of for political and socio-economic reason, which is exists in India. We cannot deny that. But it is not commissioned by religion. Nobody, well, Krishna said that in Mahabharata, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, he said that, I know, Chaturvarna Maya Shishta Guna Karma Vimamasha, right? So I created the Chaturvarnas based on Guna and Karma, right? And today you go to any corporate office, they will give you a personality test. What is that? What is that? And Varna literally means color, not caste, right? What is blue collar person? What is a white collar person? Does your Varna exist in your country then? Why do you call a person who works in garbage truck, you call him blue collar? Why is that not a Varna? Isn't that a Varna? Why are you not calling them the caste? Oh, that's that caste. He's a low caste because he's moving the garbage and we call him blue collar. Oh, the white collar is the Brahmin. Why do you not say that? See, these are the questions we have to ask these people. And we don't have to ask our questions about, see, Manusmriti, we can put it away and never even touch it, and we don't. The only reason I ask you to read this is because you would read this and then you will find these beautiful verses and you're like, wait a minute, this was written 2,300 years ago and we don't even use it anymore. Maybe we should use it now. This is the problem, you see? But like as far as Dalit is concerned, I found out like through my aunt's relative that most of us were mercenaries, hired mercenaries for any king in my family. And when the British came, they wanted to get rid of all the mercenaries, all the warriors, and the warriors did not, the people who had money went to whatever Varna they wanted to, because that's how it worked, because it never was about a Varna, and then who didn't, they didn't know where they belong, because they kept on telling you, you're this, you're that, and they ended up being these Dalit people. So there's all kinds of stories, it's not just one story.
Aldrine, actually, Dalit is a very important topic, and we are going to have more sessions where we will explore that term very clearly.
Yes.
Pandit Satish Sharma, in one line, he has said that a lot of Dalits were created through the Criminal Tribes Act of 1871, which was imposed by the British to like you said, outlaw people like who are fighting against them.
Yes.
So there is a lot of history to it, and we will explore that topic. I do want everyone to be able to ask the question. We just have about 20 minutes left.
One quick thing I want to add to this, and then we'll move on. Aryabhata, not the Aryabhatta, but Aryabhatta, one of the mathematician, he was a mercenary. He was called Aryabhatta. There was no caste problem there. He Bhata, like Hindi का word आता है ना बाड़ा, बाड़ा वहां से आती है. वो क्षत्रिय थे, वो mercenaries थे, उनको भाटा बोलते थे. So that's Aryabhatta comes from that lineage. So there was, and I have like tons of information for the Dalit, the caste system. When we do the next time, I will give you evidences from, like I said, like this is the thing that I always talk about. Like, right, Vandana Mishra, when Shankaracharya ji debated with Vandana Mishra, right, we single-handedly saved the Sanatana Dharma, and he gave us Shaddarshana and Shanmata, and he made Vandana Mishra's wife, Saraswati Devi, as the judge.
Yes.
To see, right? And not only that, he went to Kashi and he was going up the stairs and he saw Chandala. Chandala was only Chandala Shudra because he was doing Chandala job, right? And he said, hey, Chandala, get away from me. Why are you in front of me? And Chandala looks at Shankaracharya and asks, who are you asking to move? This Deha or this Atma? His Atma is like you were saying, a sun that is in the gutter is not as good as the sun that is in the Ganga river. Immediately Shankaracharya falls into his feet, washes his feet, and he creates this Panchakam called Manisha Panchakam. Please go and read that one. So these are our traditions and our rules. That's why I have millions of these. When we do the cast, I will bring all of this up to do the beautiful sutra for us. So, but that's why we have to say, these are not our words, these are not our fights. We just have to start asking them questions and not answer them anymore.
Purva Paksha. Purva Paksha is so important. Rajiv Malhotra ji has said it so many times. And the other thing I want to say is that, Manusmriti may have many translations. Ramayana has 300 versions, in which they always pick up Shambhuka in that, So there is so much manipulation by these people that we as Hindus, if we don't study our texts and don't learn how to counter them, we are always going to be in this sort of, turn these lemons into lemonade. But I want to give the question to Shambhu Gupta ji. I know you've raised your hand. Thank you for your patience. And please ask your question quickly. We have 20 minutes left now.
Yes, I'm really happy to join this session. I learned something. My question is, in future, would you be able to do a Zoom meeting where when we are attacked on some verses of Manusmriti, and how do you respond to it? What's behind there? So I would love to hear, because you look like you have studied Manusmriti quite a bit. And also, can you give me a reference of a Manusmriti that I can purchase and study at home, which you find is more, more genuine and authoritative? Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Gupta ji. So this is the thing that I say to all of my Dharma Sanatanis, that we don't answer them anymore. Because, after I came to America, I realized when they asked me why you don't eat beef, whatever the answer I gave them was not good enough. And they only ridiculed every answer that I gave. And now what I do? If they ask why you don't eat beef, I ask them why you don't eat dog. They will immediately understand. They understand. They're like, oh, sorry. Oh, crap. This is not a good conversation to have. Because they know, listen, you don't have enough love, so you need somebody to hug you. We have mother that gives all of that. We have compassion towards her. They understand. And these are the questions. I have millions of these. They ask me, I tell them. They go, oh, you Indians, you want to lighten your skin and you have complex. And I ask them, oh, really? Why is it then it's 60 billion industry, the tanning salons? Why do you want to go and change your own color too? What makes you change your color? You're not happy? See, you need to put them in that place where they're putting you now. There's many in our own Shastras, there are enough questions to ask them. Right? Like just what I told you. If they ask, oh, Manusmriti, it talked very badly about women, you ask what happened to you in 1750 when you were selling your women on the street. How do you think that, the people of Turkey, the way they look today, they didn't look like them before. Turkish people look like the Central Asian people. You know how they became like that? Because they only married, raped, filthy raised every woman from the Eastern Europe. So there is so much there. I mean, listen, when you guys go to Europe, please go to the churches and you will find so many information about who they are. You don't have to answer them. Listen, this is we don't mind who they are, but they mind us. So we need to show them the mirror. We don't need to keep on answering us, because that is our weakness. We want them to understand us. They don't want to understand us. The people who ask this question, they don't care about you. You're another 180 country people that exist in their world that they can say whatever they want to. So that's what I'm saying.
No, very good. And Shambhuji, I think the answer is yes, right? Aldrinji, you're available to talk about Manusmriti, and you're a perfect candidate. You have studied text. You come from that Dalit background, so you can represent us really well. And also, I think I'm going to move on with a question to Mr. Sujay Chakraborty. I think you've written many texts on the chat as well, but please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, my question was also similar, I believe, to what Shambhu Gupta ji just pointed out. Actually, I am, please pardon my ignorance. I've just started reading, the books basically. What I have realized is that this Manusmriti, because Manusmriti I've started reading because, in my child's class, there were a lot of things which were pointed out and stuff like that. So I thought that, let me go through what is exactly written. And the version that I got is that Meda Tithi, the one with Meda Tithi commentary. Now, over there, what I found is that there are some contradictions. You, Aldrine ji, actually highlighted a lot of positive stuff from the book, but there are other sections. Again, I mean, I don't know whether it's there or in the original text or not, but there are other sections which kind of contradicts, those positive points that you have highlighted. So, I mean, like Shambhuji, what was suggesting, maybe, I mean, we can have in the session that you are planning to have, maybe we can pick those areas and those portions which are kind of contradicting the normal positive sides that we know, and try to understand the context and basically
So Joyji,
already.
may I just add that,
Yeah.
just quickly, I want to just add, just in the, positive time, because the fact is that there has been a lot of research on the fact that there has been manipulation and of the text of Manusmriti while creating the Gentoo laws by the colonialists, because they did want Hinduism, the loftiness of Hinduism that existed in the Vedas and the Upanishads and Gita has guided all the Renaissance movement in Europe, whether it's Enlightenment, in Americas, the Transcendentalism, but they wanted to show Hinduism as a lower, and this, remember, Hinduism is the only religion that has survived. We are the only majority, right? Non-Islamic, non-Christian nation in the world.
And I quite agree to that, because there are other references in other places where you can see that the positive things that we talk about, there are examples of those.
Yes.
So I kind of understand that, but then what happens is, what happens is that when I kind of disagree with Aldrine ji when he was saying that you don't need to answer, but I think we need to answer. See, if it is wrong, then we need to accept and give a correct kind of a reply. Yeah.
One thing I want to say about this is, this war that you're fighting, this is not about equals. Do you understand? So you see, the first thing that we have to understand is, for over 800 years, you've been told this.
Right, yeah.
The first one, the first the Chalukya Niti that I started with is because of that. Because we don't have the Swaprajna anymore. Because listen, the whole world, the Prakriti is like that. Why there is an earthquake? Why the children are dying? Why a lion is deer? Lion does not have to apologize because it is deer, right? But I don't have to apologize for 2000 years ago some one-liner that they wrote. They may or they might not have written, that these people insisting that they did, right?
I completely agree. Right. What I'm trying to say is, as long as we understand that, okay, yes, this is what was written, and we can accept, right? I mean, if something is not, see, everything is in context also, right?
It's
I mean, 3,000 years back.
Because see, you are sitting here like you want to have a conversation because they would like you. You're missing the point. They don't like you. They want you to go away. They want your name to be like Francis, not Sujay.
Yeah, I understand.
You know that, right? Sujay is an abomination on earth. It needs to go away. So you should not have this conversation with you. Our ancestors have been having this for 800 years and not solved the thing. Today's conversation should go with this way. They bring up one hasty thing, and you say, and I'm saying, like, I don't deny anything that is happening today in the socio-economical level for Dalits. That's a wrong thing to say. It happens, right? But what is written, we should accept, but at the same time not let them go away, because then you know what they say. Oh, see, I told you, he's wrong. And that idiots who are talking to you have not even read the 2 sentences of Manusmriti. They went to some Ivy League college, and some professor told them, and he comes and repeating that to you. That's what I would say is, you carry 2-3 verses from Manusmriti in Sanskrit and show to these idiots. If they know, they know.
Joyji, I have a suggestion. Kohna deals with these kind of situations all the time, and we intervene. We have a Hindu parent network, and we come to your as consultants of Hindu Dharma, and we talk to your, teachers and the superintendents and whatnot, so we come in to help you. So please reach out to, I'm going to leave my email here,
I am
because this is a much bigger issue. We have solved many such issues in the past, and we need to make sure that we, address them. We should not let it go.
I understand as an organization level you can do that, but each person has to wake up and say, this is not about me trying to explain this to these people. They don't care. You think they care? They don't care. It's just something for them to say to you. So that's why if they come up with one of those atrocity literature like Raja Malhotra said, you should basically say, oh yeah, I understand, like this is how we evolve. I mean, look, like 100 years ago, people were selling their women on the street in England,
Yeah.
So we have come a long way, like all of us. If that's what you want to say and have an intellectual conversation, you can go that route. If they talk about religion, you can go that route. There are so many ways. That's why I brought this up to show you that whatever you say that is written, but in Pratyaksha Pramana, the lived experience has not been that. That's what I'm trying to show today, what I talked about.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Ravinderji, please go ahead.
I don't have a question really, but if it is okay, I would like to make a couple of points and then leave. Is that okay?
That's right. We can take 2 minutes of comments, and then this will be the last. I think we'll have to wind up after that.
Okay. So one of the comments is something which may be controversial with many of you, but it is that remains a fact. This notion of the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam arises in two Upanishads and the Panchatantra, in the stories of Panchatantra. In all of these, it is supposed to be a word of caution to the ordinary person, and don't fall for this kind of statement, because you will be taken for a ride. However, if you are a sannyasi, then this applies to you. As for a sannyasi, it is really Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. But for a person like me, who has a home, who has a property, who has this thing, if he does Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, he'll be taken for a ride and basically eaten up. So that's number one. Number two is very often people say that Manusmriti is a Brahmanical text. It is important to know that Manu himself was a Kshatriya.
Yes.
Because all Kshatriya clans come from him. The Brahmanas are his mind-born children. That means basically they were his students, not his direct this thing. So only Kshatriyas come from him. Number two. Number three, it is also a fact that most of the wealth in India till about 18th century was owned by the Vaishyas and the Shudras.
Correct.
It was not owned by the Brahmanas, because if you look at the wealth of the India, depended upon the exports to outside world, and those exports were done by the traders like Vaishyas. However, they were manufactured by the Shudras, and therefore the whole wealth was distributed around the Shudras and Vaishyas. The Brahmanas were in general very poor. So if they had to exploit, they obviously did not exploit what it meant to be to do that. And lastly, the fact remains that this concretization of the caste system, which actually is mostly the guilds, what's called professional guilds, which used to be there, and once the exports were killed entirely, these people got completely entrenched into that system, and it was made concretized by the British, because they put everybody in the list that you belong to this caste, you belong to this caste, etc., etc. So the lot has changed in the last 200 years. So this is and it cannot be brought by individuals out in personal discussions. So it has to be institutionalized. These kind of things have to be institutionally shown up, and has to be accepted at some institutional level. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Ji, for that. But I want to add one more thing for what you said about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Hitopadesha already gave us a story about the wolf and the deer.
Yes.
right? So we see, that's why I say we can stand our own dharmas, shastras to defeat anybody who says anything. So that's another one. I want to tell you one little story, one little Turkic saying, and then I will stop. It says that, the sheep always are afraid of the wolf, right? They run to the shepherd. But who eats 100% of the sheep? The shepherd. So these are the shepherds who say, come to me, I'll protect you. But they're the ones who then get them fat and eat them, sacrifice them and eat them. Trust me, I'm coming from a place where I understand how the mind works. So I'm
so right, Aldrine, because they continue to hold the tag of Dalit Christian. Why do they call themselves Dalit? If they are Christians, they better be free of that tag. They have applied, the colonialists applied that tag. But I'm going to give the last question to Shambhuji, if you can ask in 30 seconds or 1 minute maximum. Okay. And then we will have Aldrine's answer.
I think Aldrine ji had made a very good point. I don't want to have it missed in this thing, in our grouping today. And the point is that when some of the things from the Manusmriti is taken by the opposite parties to attack dharmic people, their intention is a strategic propaganda to get us agitated.
Yes.
What we need to understand, we become agitated, and that's all they want to do. So what we need to do is not to get in the trap of responding to them, but by studying the Purva Paksha, we need to come up with counter attack on them. I think this is maybe in some future meeting, we can explore a little bit more.
Definitely. We are going to have future meetings on this for sure. Aldrine ji, please go ahead.
Sorry. The biggest thing is, this is what I'm advocating. I'm advocating we cannot use Shastra today, but we can use Shastra to defeat these people. And we should use it. We should be proud of it. We should stand on it. And whatever it may be, however bad you think, trust me, I read that from the Bible and I preached Bible from Genesis to Revelation for years. Let me tell you, if I could be proud that day of standing there and talking about Jesus and Paul and Moses, let me tell you, I will stand on the strong shoulder of every Rishi Muni, and I will tell you, I can defeat you day 1, day 100 by just talking to you about our Shastra. There is no defeat to us, and we should own every single one of it, because that makes us who we are. We don't have to fall for their traps of, oh, you should be ashamed of it. No, I am not. I am not ashamed of it.
But Aldrine, right now, the reason we are discussing this is because they're trying to build it into legislation. They build it into the education system, and they don't attack us on a personal level, but it is systemically being done. So that is the reason we are even here today to discuss this.
One, you can bend. But if you put 5, you cannot bend. We need 5 everyday people can stand up in front of an embassy with a picket. That's how it stops in America. It's not because you're doing, people need to see that there is a power here. We can vote back it. We can go and, you're right. We need to do that in a organizational level. We have to do individual level that we know enough that when they come and question you, we are ready to answer. Most of the reason, most of the Hindus themselves don't say anything is because they don't know anything. Until like when I started talking about Manusmriti, people didn't want to talk about it. They're like, oh, that's bad. Until like, but have you read it? Go read it. And then when somebody asks you a question, you can say, well, this says that, we don't know. See, the seed of Sandeha is very important for everybody's growth, right? And the only thing that we have is seed of Sandeha. Sandeha is doubt. In our Hindus, like they doubt themselves constantly. They never can, like Christians and Muslims, stand up and say, yes, we are proud. Yes, we believe in this. They will send you, they send the crusade to kill people. They eradicated races. They're still keeping, as we talk about today, we are talking about Dalits today. There are people in Sweden, all the way to Australia, live in a places called reservation. Are you serious? Are you talking, whose Dalit are you talking about? I don't know who's Dalit, who are the Dalit? The people who are not allowed to come and participate in your system, who you stole the land from and you give them a little land and say, go away, don't talk to us anymore? Or the people who are in the community making a difference and being in part of the democracy? So these questions we have to ask.
That's a very important question, that, who are the real Dalits? We have solved through our constitution many of the issues that were created during the colonization. But this is a conversation to be continued, Aldrine ji. Yes, we definitely have to continue because we are absolutely out of time, over time right now. And I just want to say that Manusmriti is also available online. Various kinds of translations are available online, just in case people want to just, Google and find and search and read it, So Sanskrit and Hindi and all kinds of translations, English, everything is available. But Aldrine ji, what a passionate and what a wonderful talk today. I think what a great participation from people. And I think I have so many requests, so people are going to see it live, like recorded version later on Facebook. So, we really thank you, Aldrine ji, for coming here. Thank you, everyone, for participating and listening.
Thank you so much. If I hurt anybody's sentiment and if I said something wrong, I want to deeply apologize. And my only goal is that us Sanatani to be the place where our ancestors and our rishis or santas made us to be. So that's all I want. So.
I'm so proud of you, Aldrine ji. I'm so honored to have you. And we are going to continue a conversation on Dalit, and how they were created, as a group, like you mentioned, and we will continue that in the coming months. This is the time to turn lemons into lemonade. We are going to decolonize our history through these kind of sessions and understand Hindu Dharma and its loftiness much better. So thank you, everyone.
And please go and read and just download an English version of the Manusmriti. Good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. Know something, then you will stand for something. See, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything. Right? Please go and stand for something. Just go and stand. You do what you got to do. We will be fine. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.